You're now tuning in to the Here's the Deal podcast, covering today's biggest stories from the gridiron to the hardwood. Hosted by Michael D. White Jr. and David Coleman.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Here's the Deal. I am one of your hosts, Michael White, here with one of my nearest and dearest friend, David. Say what's up to the people.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Here's the Deal. So glad to have y'all listen again.
Definitely glad to have everybody back in for another episode. Let's touch on the NCAA tournament just a little bit. It's been March Madness. As always lived up to. What are your initial thoughts about what's been happening in NCAA tournament? Anybody that stands out, go ahead and give us your whole spill on that.
So far, the players that stood out, Ja Morant, obviously.
Right.
Zion Williamson. Just a couple of the players I've seen. A lot of the other teams I haven't been able to catch. I'll catch them throughout this Sweet 16 coming up. Elite 8. I'll start to get, to know all the veteran players, people that have been there, the juniors, the seniors, things like that. So looking forward to getting to know them, see what they can bring to the NBA. And like you said, it's been nothing but March Madness. It always lives up to the hype. You can never predict what's going to happen. You're going to have the upsets. You're going to have crazy things happening this month, and I just love it. It's perfect time.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think the biggest standout, definitely Ja Morant. Do you think he's solidified his status in the draft? Where do you think he's going? What did you really think about his performance against Marquette, even though they did go out in the second round?
Yeah, when I saw him against Marquette, I watched that whole game. I saw he was playing great. He didn't even start scoring until about near the end of the first half. So he lets the game come to him. The way I saw it was the way he plays, the game comes easy to him. The way him and Zion play, the game just comes easy to them. So they're already NBA ready in my eyes. They're obviously going to have to make a few adjustments and tweaks to their games. But starting off with a triple-double in the NCAA tournament, playing 40 minutes, going into the NBA, playing 48 minutes, that just tells you kind of what he can do when he gets to the league.
Shows his love for the game. Ja Morant, I don't want to just jump out on a limb and say, he's going to be a superstar right off the bat, because we've seen so many people look so good in college and then they get to the NBA and it doesn't quite click for him. But from what I've seen so far, the transition to NBA, he'll have no problem with that. Zion Williamson, let's touch on him for a second since he's the hot topic in college basketball. What did you think about his performance versus UCF?
UCF, the way I believe he dropped 30 on them.
Yeah,
he dropped 30 his first two games. So, the way he's playing is great. He kind of carried them on his back, which as far as Duke. RJ played an all right game. Cam Reddish played an all right game. But Zion really put the team on his back. The way that they were playing off of Jones, they were letting him shoot wide open shots. But Zion somehow found a way to will them to that victory. He's getting that N1. Obviously, he missed the free throw at the end. But the way he willed them to that victory is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was definitely impressive. You were talking about Trey Jones. They kept letting him shoot. He was 1 for 8 from 3, so and 5 of 15 overall from the field. So that was definitely a great strategy. Duke is literally the worst shooting team, I think, in the tournament right now. So they can lose on any night, man. All it takes is Zion getting into some foul trouble, and then they're in a world of trouble. But like you said, R.J. Barrett had an okay game. He had 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Had that big putback off that Zion miss off that free throw. If Zion was in NBA, we'd be talking about that free throw
definitely.
now. But I'm going to give him a little pass. You in college, your man scooped it up for you, laid it in. Saved that in the day. I think the big turning point in that game was that missed alley-oop right at the end.
Yeah,
where they could have went up 2 possessions from there, and he misses the dunk.
On them. They tried.
Come back down court, Zion. First off, I don't know about you, but when he hit that N1 over Taco at the end, my heart was thumping. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Right, because he got a little bit of acrobat on his layups.
Yeah, he definitely finesses all around the rim.
Yeah, I know he was like that around the rim. I thought it was just more so power, but he got some little bit of finesse to him too, and that's gonna come in handy in the league.
That was a tough bucket, so I think that win right. Oh, shout out Cam Reddish with that big 3.
Yeah, he had the clutch 3.
Because I said he's the one I feel like should maybe stay back, but that was a good big 3 in a crunch time on a big stage.
Touching on that, staying back as far as I think Cam Reddish, his game is going to translate well. His game is fit for the NBA,
right?
With the whole spacing and everything. Once he gets to the NBA, I think his game may just flourish even more, and also not being somewhat of a third wheel with Zion and RJ being there. I think RJ should be the one to maybe stay back. That may be a hot take, maybe something as far as staying back as to brush up on his game. The way he plays is always going after. He's always going after, and I love that about him. But being a point guard, which I think the position that he will be playing when he comes into the league, he'll be a big guard. But I think he should be the one to maybe stay back and see what Coach K can give him a year or two.
Well, here's how I stand on RJ. He shoots a lot of shots. He's just a shot taker.
He's a gunner.
Now, he has handles, though. He has the moves. I feel like on the NBA level, you get him to calm down some, he'll have more space to work. You're not going to see all these zones and things of that nature. But I was kind of on the opposite end. I think Cam Reddish needed to stay behind because, I feel like, and I tweeted this a few days ago, that him being there with Zion and RJ, I feel like they're taking the bulk load of the shots, which they are. They're taking more shots than him. And they're kind of hindering him. That's why he's been so inconsistent this season. So I feel like Cam Reddish should be the one to maybe think about staying back. He'll probably be a higher option on the list depending on Cam Reddish. I know he can shoot. That was a big shot in the game, but man, I don't know. We'll have to see about that. That RJ Barrett thing is definitely a hot take. I think a lot of people think he should be in the top 5 easily.
I mean, as far as draft position, I think he should come out. But as far as touching up on his game, I think it would help him to stay another year.
Right.
Going into our topics for the day, we're going to go ahead and start with our NFL topics. So the other day, Rob Gronkowski, he announced that he's retiring from the NFL through his Instagram account. Caught a couple people by surprise, but something that he's been hinting to the last year or two, I believe, as far as what he's going to do. Because it's kind of look like he's somewhat, not going to say disinterested in football, but he kind of wants to move on with his life. He gets hurt quite often, so that definitely plays a factor. So I wanted to ask you, ranking Rob Gronkowski in the all-time top tight ends, where would you put him?
So it wasn't really that tough for me. When I looked at who I think are the top 5 tight ends of all time, I have Gronk somewhere interchangeable in that 3 through 5 range. Number 1, I got Tony Gonzalez. Longevity. Yeah. You seen his quarterbacks he had to play with?
I agree.
He ain't had Brady, you know what I'm saying? And it was a while before he ended up in Atlanta with Matt Ryan. Yeah. Tony Gonzalez has been through some quarterbacks, so I have him ranked over Gronk. I have Antonio Gates ranked over Gronk. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know I got
I know what it is when it comes to Antonio Gates. I have Antonio Gates ranked over Gronk. But in this 3 through 5 range, I think it's pretty interchangeable. I have Gronkowski in there. I have Shannon Sharp, and I have Kellen Winslow. I didn't see Kellen Winslow play, but, I do my research. I respect the stats, so I know he's up in that top 5. But somewhere between that 3 and 5 range, I can't definitively put him over Antonio Gates or Tony Gonzalez. What about you?
Yeah, I got the exact same rankings, actually. So,
catching
me by surprise.
Hey, look.
We ain't looking at each other's lists, I promise you that. But I got Tony Gonzalez number 1. Like you said, playing for the Chiefs for so long. Mm-hmm. A lot of people try to knock his playoff resume, but that's one of those things as a tight end you can't really control when you have a good team around you, but not a team that can make a real playoff run.
Yeah, it's not like he's a quarterback or something. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, so you can't really control that. Antonio Gates is my second. Like you said, both of those, they both have longevity. They both have the numbers, and they both... With Gates, it's a little bit different because he always had a pretty good quarterback. He had Drew Brees, and he always had Phillip Rivers. So he did always have that talented quarterback, but Gates has nothing really to say. He kind of somewhat changed the game as far as players coming out of college, from basketball as well. Tony Gonzalez as well. I believe he did that too. So they both kind of changed the game when that comes to it with the tight end position. And then I got Gronk, Kellen Winslow, and Shannon Sharp. The last 2, I didn't really get to see too much of the game, but like you said, respect the numbers, do my research with Shannon Sharp and Kellen Winslow, and I just respect them. But as far as Gronk, there's nothing that I've seen like him, man. He's different than all these other names that we have up here. He definitely, I'm not going to say he revolutionized the game, but because there's only one of him. There's not going to be another Gronk, I believe.
No, not in this league, the way it's transitioning. Gronk 6'6", 270 pounds. I mean, you can't put a a DB on him, a safety. I don't think you don't want to put a linebacker on him. He can catch it with either hand. Great blocker. He's just the ultimate mismatch. So I definitely think he was one of a kind. And I think his play with the Patriots has definitely dubbed him one of their best players of all time easily.
Yeah. So with that being said, how do you think the Patriots make out with him retiring now? How do you think they fill his role? How do they adjust with him being out?
I think they'll definitely miss him around there. You know, just that lighthearted, fun guy to be around. But knowing the Patriots, it's tough to say this. A guy that's so one of a kind is replaceable, but I feel like they'll do what they need to do in order to get the production they need to from that position. Now, of course, they're not going to have that automatic go-to at the tight end position no more, but from what we've seen from the Patriots over the years, there's no reason for me there's no reason that I think they'll lose a step after losing Gronk.
I think they'll definitely take a step back.
You think
I
so?
feel a little bit different. Obviously, the Patriots are one of those teams that they're the only team that we've seen can kind of plug and play, and it doesn't really matter who's been there, even their quarterback at times, with Brady being out for the suspension, Brady being out for injury at one point. They haven't missed a step with that. But I believe with the Gronk situation, we already said he's a one-of-a-kind player. You can't make up for what he does. He's a great blocker. I think that's one of those things that gets, lost because he's such a great receiver. But when it comes to changing the game, he's one of those game changers. As far as the Super Bowl, when we were watching the Super Bowl against the Rams, he's the reason they scored the touchdown. He set up that play to score the touchdown. Brady, I believe he had threw it in double coverage. Gronk catches up the left sideline, puts him at the 1 or 2 yard line.
Crazy
One
catch.
or 2 yard line.
Crazy
And
catch.
You can't make that up. You can't go out there and get another Gronk. So I think that's going to change the way that they play. It's going to change Brady's go-to, because we've seen a lot of times also Gronk is that player that he goes to in the fourth quarter. He can just count on him. He's going to make these catches. He's going to bounce off a tackle or two and just 20-yard gain here, 30-yard gain here. Next thing you know, they're inside your 20, and Brady's best in the league once he gets in the red zone. So I think it's going to change their game a little bit. And I think it will take them a little bit to adjust, because they're not going to have that blocking tight end. It's hard to find a blocking tight end that can also catch.
And they're definitely transitioning more to a run-heavy team with Sony Michel back there. Brady's getting up there in age, losing a good run blocker like Gronkowski. I can understand how that's going to hurt them. So, yeah, I definitely understand it from that point of view.
Yeah, so they'll definitely take a step back. All right, so getting on to our free agency signings for the rest of the NFL. We had a couple Packers leave. So we had Clay Matthews. He went to the Rams, signed a 2-year deal. You have any thoughts on that?
Thank you for all your years in Green Bay. Clay Matthews, that was my guy for a long time. When he first burst onto the scene, long hair, looking like Thor, he was getting sacks, man. He do his little celebration. He's fallen off in the last couple of years. Had some injuries here and there, and ultimately, we just didn't feel like he was worth the money that he wanted for us, so we retooled. More power to him. I hope he has success with Los Angeles.
Definitely, man. I believe he's a Cali kid, so he's kind of going back home. Like you say, he's taking a step back. So he's not the same Clay Matthews that the name is, but he's still an effective player. He's still going to do what you want him to do for the most part. He's got to learn how to stop landing on these quarterbacks, stop drawing those penalties.
Oh, my gosh.
That was a killer for the Packers
He
last
was
year.
killing me last year. Some of them we could argue, but after a while, it's like, come on,
You got to
man.
adjust. You got to adjust.
Man, throw that man to the ground with your arms. That's it. Do something like that. Stop falling on these quarterbacks.
Right, but I think the Rams, they're continuing to build their super team. Hopefully it works out this year for them. Going into our next free agent, signed another Packer, your wide receiver, Randall Cobb. He left and went to the Dallas Cowboys. So he's replacing Cole Beasley in that slot position more than likely. What are your thoughts on that?
From the Packers' perspective, I'm going to miss Randall Cobb a little bit. He had a tendency to miss a lot of games as of late. He's been injury prone for a little bit here. But he's definitely a hard-working player. You put him in the slot, gets a lot of yards after the catch. You can line him up. We actually ran him at running back a few times. You can line him up in the backfield. So definitely from the Packers' perspective, they're going to miss him. But ultimately, he was missing a lot of games. Wanted a bigger contract. They went a different way. They decided to commit that money to the defensive end. As far as from the Cowboys' perspective, it's definitely an upgrade over Cole Beasley if he can stay healthy. Now, that's a big if. You already have Amari Cooper on the outside. Throw this man in the slot. He can make some things happen for you. So I think it's a nice pickup for the Cowboys. Let's hope he stays healthy.
The way I look at it is the Cowboys add another weapon. They have Amari Cooper, they have Randall Cobb, and they just need to find a third at this point. They got Jason Witten coming out of the booth, coming back, helping out the team.
What's he coming back to do?
And he's coming out. He's going to be a leader in the locker room. That's all he's coming back. He's not really coming back for their team.
I'll take that.
So I think
makes
that's
sense.
the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. But look, I think it's just going to be a key year for Dak. So I think they're looking at as we get you the weapons. Now go out there and do something with him. Because we saw Mike Cooper, he had some really good games with him. He just needs to do that consistently with that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they need to win at least 11 or 12 games. I think that's what they're pushing for, and then have some playoff success. So I think that's kind of where the Cowboys are, is more so evaluating that. Let's get this weapon in there for him. So our last free agent signing we're going to touch on is Justin Houston. He signed a 2-year, $24 million deal with the Colts, and they add a pass rusher. So what are your thoughts on that?
Exactly what you said. They had a pass rusher, Justin Houston. I think he's getting up there in age, but hey, he's effective. Put him in there on third down. He's a vet. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get to the quarterback. He can cover. I think it's a solid pickup for the Colts.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on it either. They add a pass rusher, add a veteran, which I think is big for them. And somebody, instead of putting money in the offensive side of the ball, let's start helping out that defense so we don't have Andrew Luck looking at a situation similar to what Aaron Rodgers was going to.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
All right, so now going into our basketball portion of the podcast, let's touch on the MVP race. I'm going to touch on Harden's recent performances and where you see it going the next couple of weeks as the season wraps up around mid-April. So, what do you think of Harden's recent performances? He had dropped 57, I believe, on Thursday, and then he had dropped 61, matching his career high against the Spurs on Friday. So coming off the back-to-backs, 57 and 61. Does that change your mind in the MVP race at all?
So right now, my MVP race, Harden is definitely at the top of my list. I mean, what more? I've been trying to put people on the Harden. I've been trying to fight it. It was going back and forth between him and Giannis, but I just mean in general, I've been trying to kind of put people on Harden. Like, yo, the man is kind of crazy when you look at it. Like, and people always hit me with the free throws and this and that. And I understand it's annoying. It can get on your nerves. But look, at the end of the day, he's playing within the rules. And like he says, basketball requires discipline. Mm-hmm. When it comes to discipline, you can't foul. You can't step up under him. And he's just so good of a player that it makes it almost impossible to stop him. But right now, he's definitely leading my list of the MVP race. They just clinched a playoff berth. Just think back. There was a time where this team was 14th in the West. Chris Paul got hurt. Yeah, Capella went out.
It was looking really bad.
It was looking real bad, and this guy continues night in, night out, do what it takes to get this team where they are. And I think they're Golden State's biggest threat. We'll get into that in a little bit. But, yeah, James Harden is definitely number one on my list. My list right now is James Harden. I have Giannis at 2, of course. I have Steph Curry at 3, Joel Embiid at 4, and Paul George has dropped down to 5 on mine. But, yeah, I'm all for James Harden with MVP. I think he's going to close it out.
Okay, yeah. But James Harden, the way I feel is the way I felt for since the beginning of the year. James Harden's the best player in the league. I don't think there's a debate at this point in the season. We got to see what he does in the playoffs. I know y'all going to have a lot of arguments for that, but I believe he's the best player in the league. He's one of the best post defenders. If you want to talk about defense, he's one of the best post defenders in the league, which really goes underrated. I believe he's second in steals and first in deflections in the league. So he's staying active. He's not falling asleep like he used to in past years. So he's locked in. Offensively, he's definitely locked in. Best offensive player in the league to me. There's nothing that he can't do out there. Like you said, you got to stay disciplined. That's the biggest part when you're playing James Harden. I know it's frustrating to guard him. I can only imagine because if you put your hands up, he's going right at you. He's attacking you. And the way the rules are, you can't touch him. So you can be as physical as you want on offense, but on defense, you can't. You got to give up some leeway. You got to give up some room. And that's the problem I think a lot of these defensive players have nowadays as far as guarding a player like James Harden. Somebody, when he goes to the lane, he doesn't look to finesse around you. He looks to kind of go through you. And a lot of times that's going to make the ref blow that whistle. So he's going to get those free throws. But as far as the MVP race is going, I was having a conversation with my boy, shout out Quan. He's talking about he's out there playing on pro at this point. And judging by, and that was before the games that happened. So I'm gonna go ahead up him on that. He's playing on rookie at this point. After dropping 57 and 61 in back-to-back games, he had 27 in the first quarter against the Spurs, and he also had a little bit of a run at the end to close it out by himself, essentially. And what he's doing, I think, is special. It's one of those things where Giannis is just gonna have to take a back seat this year. It's kind of like when Harden had his great year. And Russell Westbrook had a triple-double. You just got to kind of take a back seat to things like that when you have historic performances.
Well, first off, that shouldn't have happened. But we ain't gonna get into that. But what I do want to throw a curveball at you, because I see a lot of talk about Harden in Houston on Facebook and on Twitter. So I'm gonna ask you, Houston fan, are we gonna see this same James Harden in the playoffs this year?
I don't believe we're gonna see the same James Harden. Actually, I think
honesty. That's honesty.
I don't think but I think it's just what the playoff basketball is. It's just a different type of game plan when you see the same team for 2 weeks. Like, you're going to see the same team. They can game plan for you. They're going to make adjustments. If you kill them for 51 game, you're not going for 50 next game. Like, that's especially if you win that game. They're not going to let it happen over and over again. They're going to get the ball out of your hands. So that's why I think the biggest key for the Rockets is come playoff time. We need to have a healthy Chris Paul, because when that happens, when they trap James Harden, we need another playmaker. Somebody that we can count on, somebody we can give the ball to, and they can make plays.
I agree with you. He's scoring a lot of points right now, and
it's hard to see that in the playoffs.
It's hard to see that in the playoffs when someone is game planning against you for a playoff series. Now, it's still James Harden. I still expect no less than 27 points.
Oh, yeah. I would say 30, 32.
Yeah, I need something, okay? Because look, I've been defending him. I defend him a lot, but at some point, you got to put them performances and them great performances consistently in a row in the playoffs when it matters. Last year, they got to the ultimate, the end of the cliff, if you will, and they just could not get it done. So I'm very eager to see what James Harden does this year, but yeah, definitely the top MVP guy. But let's segue over to the Eastern Conference and talk about somebody the Lakers miss dearly. D'Angelo Russell, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you've noticed, first-time All-Star this year, has been playing out of his mind this year. He continues to make strides toward becoming an NBA elite point guard. So, I ask you, what are your thoughts on D'Angelo Russell's play this year, and did you see this coming from him?
I've always liked D'Angelo Russell's game. He's not the most athletic guy out there. He has a crafty game to him. I believe he's left-handed, so it's one of those things where I enjoy watching him play. It's just always waiting for him to take that step. He's still a young player, which I think the biggest thing it shows me is that these players, a lot of them, they come one and done. They come a year out of high school. You have to give these players time to grow, and I think that's what we're watching with D'Lo. You have to give them time to mature into their man body, mature into being a man in the NBA, adjust to the game that you play in the NBA. Because if you look, you have Buddy Hield, you have Steph Curry. It takes them a little while to adjust to the NBA. It takes them a little while to adjust their game to see what works. What am I going to do to stay in this league for a long time? How am I going to be effective against grown men now that I'm not playing in college anymore? So I think that's the biggest thing with D'Angelo Russell. It's just this game's starting to slow down for him, because I believe he's shooting a career high from the field and from three, right? Shooting 43% and from three, 43% from the field and 36% from the three. So it's starting to slow down for him. The game's starting to come to him a little bit easier. And I think it's just a maturation of what practice is. He shouted out his vets on Twitter. He gave them a big shout out as far as the key to his success this year. So all those things go into playing a part of his jump this year. The veteran leadership, the player development. It's a lot of things that people don't talk about, but it plays a big role in these players getting to where we see them when we draft D'Angelo Russell second overall. So I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with anything you said anymore. It takes time. Like you said, these are young players coming straight out of high school, 1 year in college, and coming to the NBA. They are not ready to be playing against grown men. Not everybody's Zion Williamson. Not everybody's LeBron James. Not everybody is ready to succeed on the NBA level right away. So God, as a Laker fan, it sucks to see him play this well for another team. It sucks the situation that happened with him, which ultimately got him traded to Brooklyn. But, man, he's definitely improved. Like you said, he can shoot. He's a crafty guy. He's got a nice little floater game. He can finish with either hand. He still gets people involved.
Yeah.
The Nets are in the playoffs. And then also, I mean, 27 points in a fourth quarter. Like, that's some next level type of stuff. Like, yeah, man. Like, so big kudos to D'Angelo Russell. But I want to use that to talk about my Lakers. Now, I'm going to ask you this question first. I know you had posed this question to me, but I'm going to see what your thoughts is first. Do you think that the Lakers would be better off if they would have just kept D'Lo and drafted someone else in the draft that they took Lonzo Ball? What do you think they should have did in that situation? You're GM. Mm-hmm. You're Magic Johnson. You tell me what you would have done in that situation.
I would have definitely. You got to keep D'Lo. Start there. You don't trade D'Lo for. I don't even Mozgov. I believe like you know.
No, well,
I traded Mozgov.
So let me give some context. So we traded D'Angelo Russell and Mozgov, which was a bad contract, to the Nets for a pick that ended up being Kyle Kuzma and Brook Lopez.
Okay,
go ahead.
That's what it was. Okay, so. With that being said, you still don't make that trade. You keep D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, it's hindsight 2020, but even at the time, I didn't think it was a great trade. Obviously, it was big getting rid of the money from Mozgov. But in this question that you asked me, getting back to who would I draft to go with D'Lo, I'm gonna go with Donovan Mitchell. Give me. No, I'm going to switch it up. No.
Switching it up?
Yeah, I'm going to switch it up.
No, look. All right, man. Take your time.
I started off with Donovan Mitchell, but I'm going to switch it to Jason Tatum, even though he hasn't been playing great as of late. But I'm going to go with the youth, because Donovan Mitchell, he was, I believe, a 3 or 4 year player at Louisville. So I'm going to go with the youth. I'm going to go with the player that still has a lot of developing to do. Like we just said with D'Angelo Russell, you got to develop these players. We saw what Jason Tatum could do in the playoffs. I don't think it's any different from what he'll do in the future. He'll be even better in the future. Granted, he's not playing his best right now, but I think he's just trying to find his way in the league, trying to find how he's going to play with such a talented Celtics team. So I think D'Angelo Russell and Jason Tatum, that's a pretty fair backcourt. And we get LeBron, and we still have BI. Yeah, I think we'd be good with that.
All right. So if I'm in charge of the Lakers, man, just that whole situation with Nick Young and that Iggy Azalea, I understood the premise of why we got rid of D'Angelo Russell. You need somebody the guys in the locker room feel they can trust. But looking at it from talent perspective and what I wanted us to do, I'm keeping D'Lo. I'm not trading him. I'm getting rid of the Mozgov contract in some other way, form, shape, or fashion. But I'm keeping D'Lo. I'm still taking Lonzo Ball. Now I got a point guard who can defend and create and is unselfish. I got a point guard, quote unquote, and D'Angelo Russell, who's really just a 2 in a point guard's body, who wants to score and can also create for others. And now he doesn't have to guard the best point guard on the floor. And you can put Lonzo there. But I'm going to go even farther. I'm also keeping Julius Randle and having Brandon Ingram. And we just going with the young squad. We're going with the young squad.
I like it.
I mean, that's just how I'm feeling right now. I like the chemistry that was coming together. I feel like we could have got over the whole D'Angelo Russell thing because I understand, Magic. You don't want somebody in the locker room the guys feel like they don't trust. Ain't nobody in the locker room left from that year. No one. Except Ingram. Yeah. And if your issues with Ingram, I think they could have got over that. He doesn't seem like the guy to hold on to stuff like that. Especially it doesn't affect him, personally like it did Nick Young. So, then that's the route I'm taking. Give me all my young cats. Straight up.
I like that. Keeping the young Lakers. I would have loved to see that. Like last year, that was without D'Angelo Russell because he got traded the year before. But y'all went 35-47. So y'all were trending towards the right direction.
We might not even hit that this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe worse this year. We'll get into that in a second. But I think y'all were trending in the right direction. Y'all keep with the young guns, let them develop. That's what I'm saying. You gotta be patient in this league. You gotta let these players adjust to the speed of the game, the speed and the physicality of the NBA. You just gotta let them adjust and let them bring in some trainers that know what they're doing. Because I don't even think the Lakers have a shooting coach at this point. Something that they need to invest in.
If they don't have a shooting coach by now, I know at the beginning of the season that was something that was going around. If they don't got one by now, Luke won't even trying to keep his job, or whoever's job it is to do that. They won't even trying to keep their job.
Hyperlinker, man.
Man, don't get me started. So, looking at this now, look, don't get it twisted. We got LeBron James. So part of that D'Angelo Russell whole trade to get Mozgov off the books ultimately led to us getting LeBron because we needed that cap space. But I want to use that to segue to our next topic about LeBron. He's missing the playoffs for the first time since 2005. How old were you in 2000? How old?
I was 10 years old.
10?
Probably 11 by the time the playoffs
Wait,
started.
how old am I? 26.
By March, I was 11, so I was still a young boy.
That's how.
I don't even remember.
It's crazy when you think about that. Like, yo, this cat has not missed the playoffs since 05.
Right.
I don't live most of my life since then.
It's 2019.
Yeah, it's 2019, yo. So, yeah, he's missing the playoffs for the first time since 05. And I want to ask you, because there's a lot of back and forth about this, does this affect his legacy as a player? Tell me.
All right, so I'm going to start off by going through the season. So let's see how it affects LeBron's legacy. So LeBron went through his injury. He had the groin injury. It's the worst injury he's gone through. I believe he missed how many games?
18. Well, now he's missed a little bit more, but for the groin, it was essentially 18.
Okay, so 18 games with the groin and rest nowadays. So 18 games he had missed ever since the Christmas break. The way I see it is him missing the playoffs. It definitely is a hit to his legacy. It definitely is a hit because he didn't miss enough games to where the team couldn't make the playoffs. When he came back, they were still in contention. When he came back, they just had to beat the teams they needed to beat. You need to beat the Phoenix Suns. You need to beat all these lottery teams, which is what you have to do when you're trying to make the playoffs in the West. You have to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. And they just didn't do that after he came back from injury, post-injury, and the AD trade rumors. It just didn't happen. So I think it is a hit on his career. The way I see it is he was in the East. He was dominating. He had 8 years of dominance, going to the finals 8 straight times. Had the second best player in my eyes each time with Miami and Cleveland. He had Dwayne Wade, had Kyrie Irving, both second best player at the time, I believe. Also had another All-Star, Kevin Love, Chris Bosh. So he had 3 All-Stars on his team in the East. First year he comes over to the West, probably playing with the big boys, made it to varsity. Doesn't make the playoffs. I gotta ding him for that. I can't just be like, okay, it's fine. You had a young team, the injury. I can't say all that. You have to make the playoffs. If I'm not gonna criticize you for it. So I think it definitely is something that will blemish his resume, but I think there's a little bit deeper as far as the next couple of years in his career, as far as how we will judge it. Because coming into the year, like I said, y'all 35 and 47 last year. Everybody's saying LeBron's worth 15 wins, 20 wins. I did see y'all winning about 50 wins, give or take. Obviously, that didn't happen. Granted, injuries played a part. Luke never getting his rotations right. All played a part. With him leaving from Miami and Cleveland, it's one of those things that we saw. He was dominating. There's nobody in the East that was messing with him. He comes to the West, it's not the same. So the way I see it is, it's not translating the greatness. I don't want to say completely, but because the whole injury thing, but for him to at least make the playoffs, even if he would have lost in the first round, I think it would have been at least you're there. At least you're not at home before the playoffs start. With teams like the Clippers, we thought the whole Tobias Harris trade, we thought that they would fall out of the playoffs. Granted, they do have the best record in the league since that trade. I'm not sure if you knew that, but they do have the best record in the league since that trade. The Lakers, obviously, they've just been on a downhill slump ever since Christmas Day. Ever since Christmas Day. They hit a high that day, the 26th. It's been low since then, ever since the injury. So that's my thoughts on LeBron's injury, the way his legacy is going to be affected. The next year or two, he has to compete for a ring. He needs to find a way to bring somebody to LA compete for a ring, because that's what all Lakers fans are going to judge you by. They're not judging you by making the playoffs. We want you to go to the finals. We want you to win the finals. We need to see a ring or two before this contract is up. And it's one of those things where if LeBron, if he does win a ring, I think we'll look back at it as this was a rebuilding year. It was a year that he dealt with injuries, and he just didn't make the playoffs. Simple as that. But if he goes on, doesn't win a ring, doesn't make it to the finals, we're going to look back at it as the beginning of the end of LeBron. Like, that injury may have took him out, or maybe even coming to the West. That will always be a question. Did you go from the East to the West and you just weren't able to be as dominant because you were always playing in the weaker division, in the weaker conference? So I think we still have a couple of years, a little bit more to play out before we judge how this will affect his legacy. But I do think, as of right now, it does diminish a little bit of what he's done the last 8 years.
So, as the Laker fan on here, it's going to sound a little weird, but I don't think this affects his legacy. Let's take in consideration some of the things you said. The injury. He's never been injured like this before. He's never missed this many games before. And from what it looks like, some doctor came out and said he should have been out. Oh, yeah. Was it 6 months?
Yeah,
they
6
said
months.
Something like that. I don't know if that was just a little sprinkle on top of the ice cream, but obviously this really affected him in a certain way. I don't think it affects his legacy because at the beginning of the year, I think people are forgetting that this was just supposed to be a test year. Now, granted, I agree. I thought we was going to make the playoffs, and I feel like we still would have made the playoffs if it wasn't for the injuries. Now, to go to your point about, they came back and he still lost games they shouldn't have lost. Well, I hate to put it like this. We missing Lonzo Ball, man. Look.
I agree.
Everybody wants to hate on Lonzo and say he's not this and not that, but I can tell you what he is. He's the best perimeter defender the Lakers have.
Yeah, by far.
And LeBron at this stage, as great and legendary as he is, on the defensive end, when you got to push this man to guard some people.
Kyle Kuzma pushing you.
He getting beat on backdoor cuts, all types of stuff like that. You need a guy out there who can wreak that havoc. Before Lonzo Ball went out, the Lakers were ranked 7th in defense and total defense in the league. Since he's been out, they're ranked last. That's with LeBron back. That's with Rondo back. That's with all of them back. So I just think, and even still, when you look at it, you're missing Lonzo. You miss Rondo's for games. Rondo's not playing defense at this level either, and you're making this guy play high minutes. The roster construction by Magic and Pelinka, let's just call it what it is now, a failure. It's just a failure. It didn't work.
They'll come back. They'll get some shooters next year.
I was all for, the defense and the playmakers, but when you're seeing how it came out,
it's not when LeBron's at his best. Right?
It's not what we need around it. But as far as affecting his legacy, I don't think it does, man. It's hard for me to say, okay, your first year in LA with all these injuries, suspensions, Ingram out, Rondo.
It was one thing after the other, right?
It just seemed like it was one thing out of other. He's still giving you 28, 8, and 8. So it's not like he cheated you out of it. He's playing hurt apparently. So I'm going to say no, it doesn't affect his legacy. But don't get it twisted. Next year is a big year for LeBron James in a Lakers uniform. Because I feel like his leadership legacy has been affected greatly. I think that's taken a huge ding. So let's say this offseason comes and all these free agents come out and we don't get them, or we don't get the ones we think we're going to get, and we can't trade for Anthony Davis, and you got to keep these young guys that you were trying to get rid of. You're going to have to be a whole entirely different, better leader next year. And it starts right now. That's why I think he's making it such a point to talk about how he's not going to cheat himself out the game, talk about the young guys and this and that. He understands now, like, hey, these guys might be here next year. I need these guys if I'm going to win, because even though I'm so great offensively, I'm going to need them to cover my lapses on the other end. Yeah. You know what I mean? Definitely. So legacy-wise, no, I don't think it affects LeBron's legacy. I think he's still solidified top 5 player all time, top 3. We can argue about that all day. But Yeah, I don't think it affects his legacy. But let's transition over to another member of the Los Angeles Lakers. The guy I just brought up, Lonzo Ball. He's dropping BBB, man. Yeah. I don't want to give the guy any screen time. I believe his name is Alan Foster. Yes. Reportedly, there's a $1.5 million missing from personal and business accounts from Lonzo Ball. So since then, Lonzo Ball has removed everything BBB related, moved everything about his father related off his Instagram. All the Ball boys have done that. What are your thoughts on this theft of this money from this young player?
First of all, you can't trust everybody. That's kind of what I think the moral of the story is. You can't trust everybody in this world, despite they may be family, friends. When you're doing business with somebody, you have to take all the precautions. You have to make sure everything is protected. You need to be conscious of where you're putting your money and where's it going. I think that's the moral of the story. As far as the boys go, I think it's great for them. I think it's about time they took control over their lives. They're starting to be grown men now. I look at it as Lonzo starting to become his own man. He's not doing just what his dad tells him. Even though I was with it from the beginning, the whole triple Bs. Let's start our own brand. Let's build these businesses. Let's quit signing deals from, these billionaires and let's make our own business. I love that idea. It's looking like it's not going to work out. I hope something else they can do. They may start another company. They may buy him out of the company. I think that may be the route they go. But the way I see it is Lonzo starting to become his own man. The other ball boys, LaMelo and Jello, I think they're starting to realize, okay, we need to step our game up. Because right now their whole brand is based off of Lonzo and partly LeVar and his whole, craziness that he's been on the last year or two. But with LaMelo coming up, he has to really step up his game and, show the world why he belongs in the NBA. Because you don't want to have it where Lonzo's the only one that makes it there. You got Jello and Melo looking on the outside, and it looks like he may go ahead and sign with Nike, but judging by the Instagram post he had. But we'll see more on that coming soon.
Another thing, you said it earlier. Man, do your research. This dude, Alan Foster, just in case y'all didn't know, he was in charge of money. Served a 7-year prison sentence after he pled guilty to 1 count of mail fraud and 2 counts of money laundering due to his role in a scheme that defrauded investors of $4 million. And that's who you got in charge of your money? I kind of understand the ball boys' stance against their father in this, because while Lonzo's out on the court and the other ball brothers are young, speaking to Melo and Jello, he's the one who's supposed to know this stuff. This is his friend of 10 years. He put him in this position to handle these things. So I understand why they're mad at him. You got to do your research. In anything in life, do your research. It'll help you. Now, granted, maybe LeVar gave him benefit of the doubt. Maybe the dude lied. Maybe he didn't know what he went to jail for. It's all type of avenues we could take for that. But I like what you said about Lonzo becoming his own man, because that's something that people have been saying in the media. They kind of feel like his father talks for him. Like, I remember before he got drafted and they was coming on the Undisputed and First Take, and it'd just be LeVar talking, Lonzo in the hoodie with the hat, with the merch on, just chilling. Like, there, right? Yeah, so I like this. I want him to step out of his shell more. I want him to be his own man. I want him to say, hey, this is how I feel. Hey, we should do this like this. I think this is a good step for him. RIP BBB. Yeah. That looks like it's all done. Looks like you said, Lonzo's going over to Nike. I liked his picture. He had his jersey up in the rafters. Like, man, he said, hey man, look, I tell you like this, you're setting up yourself with a picture that you need to live up to. You know what I'm saying? I know Magic already made the statement, so I look forward to seeing what he does with that. Anything else?
It's not easy to get your name up in those rafters. So Lonzo, you got to put in that work. I believe the Lakers have spoke to him about the shoes kind of being a problem for him as far as, the injuries. Yeah,
they asked him, did he think it was the big baller shoes?
And that came right on time with this whole, investigation going on. So him switching shoes, I mean, it could have been the shoes. So I think Lonzo's going to be a great player in this league. I believe it's just going to do with time and, with practice.
Yeah,
I think it'll be great.
Yeah, I ultimately I hope the Lakers end up keeping him because I think he could be an important piece.
All right. So Joel Embiid, he said he's the best defensive player in the league and the most unstoppable player in this league as well. So first of all, can you touch on the defensive part and the most unstoppable? Who do you believe the most unstoppable player in the league is? Or you want me to start?
I'll start. I'll start with defense. Is he the best defensive player in the league? At the center position, I'm okay with that. I wouldn't be mad if he won Defensive Player of the Year. It's just weird looking at judging centers to like wings. They're guarding different people, but I have no problem with him saying that. He would definitely be a candidate. I'm thinking of Kawhi Leonard as best defender, but I understand where he's coming from. Joel Embiid does a lot for the Sixers, so I don't have much of a problem with that. Now, is he the most unstoppable? There's a guy with a beard. He plays in Houston. Don't know if you heard of him, James Harden. That is the most unstoppable player in the NBA. Now, look, Embiid might be second. He might be third because he gets to the free throw line about just as much as Harden. Yeah, second behind him. So I think he's second on that list, but I'm definitely going with Harden as the most unstoppable player in the league.
Yeah. Most unstoppable player, James Harden. You know where I'm at. You know where I'm rocking with. Give me the big. Give me the person that's averaging almost 37 points a game. Highest since Jordan. You skipping over Kobe. We going straight to Jordan. Mm-hmm. And we touching all the Wilt's records. That's the only person we talking about is Wilt when it comes to this scoring stuff, all right? Mm-hmm. And then as far as defensive goes, I've always been a Kawhi Leonard guy. He's one of my favorite players in the league. Right. I'm going to keep rocking with him till he falls off. And he's not falling off anytime soon. I believe Joel Embiid, he is the best defensive center. I believe the debate with that would be Rudy Gobert. But the difference, I say, is when it comes to guarding guards, Joel Embiid can do that. Just going back to last week's game, down the crunch time, guarded Kyrie Irving, got the block off the off foot, I believe. So it's like things like that. Rudy Gobert can't do those types of things. You get him on an island, it's barbecue chicken.
Yeah, you know what that is.
But yeah, best defensive player in the league. I'll give it to Kawhi. Joel Embiid, he's in that conversation though. He's definitely dominant. He's definitely one of the best in the league.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. With that though, let's stay in the Eastern Conference. And let's go to the Flash. D. Wade has been hooping lately on his supposed to be farewell tour. His play has gotten a lot of people wondering, should he play another year? He's got the Heat in the AFC to the playoffs. Now, I don't expect him to make a lot of noise, but what do you think about D. Wade's play this year, and should he come back?
I think he's playing great. He's doing what D-Wade does. I mean, you see him with the ball fakes. You see him come down in the crunch time. He's always been a clutch player. Fourth quarter comes, you can count on Dwayne Wade. You give him the ball, he'll make a play, whether it's for him or a teammate. I definitely believe he should play another season in the league. My favorite player ever. I would love to see him play another year in the league. He's still an effective player. He still can go out there. Unlimited minutes, obviously. He can't give you 30 minutes a night like he used to, but play him 25 minutes a night and just have him in there during that fourth quarter. He'll get the job done. He'll, like we're doing right now. He's leading Miami at least to the playoffs. I believe he still may be the best player on that Miami Heat team, judging with Justice Winslow and Josh Richardson go. But at this moment, I believe he is the best player on their team. And you got a place like Miami, they may be able to bring somebody in, and maybe they'll be able to compete at least in the Western Conference. Maybe not in the finals, but they'll be able to at least get through like a series or two.
Eastern Conference.
Yeah, in the Eastern Conference.
I agree. I think Dwayne Wade's played great this year. He's been definitely that spark plug, that hometown guy right there. He's the heart and soul of that Heat team. Should he come back next year? I don't know. I don't know if he should come back next year. I mean, he's great. He's good. But, I mean, once a guy, can you come back after going on your farewell tour?
No, I mean, no. He's not going to come back. I
just don't think it's a good look. I mean, obviously he could come back, provide a spark off the bench, give him 18 to 22 minutes a night. Yeah. He'll come in, give you 12, 13 points, some assists, things like that. He's been great for the Heat this year. They're in the AFC, like I said earlier. But as far as coming back, no, I think it's D-Wade's time. I think it's his time to go ahead and just bow out gracefully.
Yeah.
Take the farewell tour. You're playing great. Go out on a good note. Hey, you get a playoff. You'll probably sneak in a playoff run maybe here. So
if he gets a game winner or something like that, like last year he had a big fourth quarter, I believe, in the playoffs. So if he got something like that, I'll be all satisfied with him walking out. He said that he's content with everything. He wants to walk out, still healthy, still, not, deteriorating. He's not out there limping out there. Like Dirk, do you think? I'm gonna ask you a quick question. So, do you think Dirk's gonna come back next year?
No.
The league is trying to push him out, but he keeps saying, "I don't know if I'm gonna come back."
No. I'm gonna tell you, Dirk. Go home, okay? It's not the offense that I'm worried about with you. It's not that side of the court. It's the other side of the court, Dirk. Your lateral movement, all that good stuff on defense. They are gonna put you in pick and roll. They're gonna spread that court wide, and you're gonna struggle. Go ahead, bow out. Look. The only way I see Dirk coming back next year is if the Mavericks are surrounded with nothing but good defenders on the court, and they might retool this offseason, but you need all good defenders around him, and you need to hire him on defense. And look, that's not impossible, but I also think it's Dirk's time. One of the greatest, maybe the greatest European player of all time, one of the greatest 7-foot shooters of all time. It's time to go, buddy. Nah.
Yeah, he got to take his ball and go home. It's just looking at the league, it's like everybody's pushing him out. That's the only thing. I want to see Dirk, announcing on his turn. Don't let the rest of the league tell you got to go.
I don't want to see him get ISO and he fall.
Yeah. You already,
I don't want that. I don't need to see that.
No major injuries or nothing like that.
Nah, bro.
I mean, the only thing I want to see him come back is to maybe pass Jordan in scoring.
Okay.
Because he's only a few points from that, but
I wouldn't be mad at that.
It is time for him to go. Like you said, he's not going to be able to play against half of the league because you don't want him on no ISOs with any of the best point guards in the league. So, wrapping up our NBA topics, we're going to go into our top 5. So, this is our top 5 for the week. We're going to start with our favorite quarterbacks
of all time.
So, our favorites, the people that we like watching, people that we grew up, out there slinging the rock, playing jackpot. Who we thought we were.
The people we like. Understand that. We like. Not the best. Not yours. The people we like. These are our favorites.
All right, so we're going to start with our honorable mentions. We got honorable mention, then we're going to get into our top 5. Starting from 5 to 1.
So, I'll start with my honorable mention first. Think you'll like this. I got Phillip Rivers as my honorable mention. I was never a Chargers fan. That was you growing up. Yeah. But I respected the Chargers. I remember them years with LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates. Man, defense was Cromartie on the defense. Man, I love Quentin Jammer. Like, Chargers was a nasty game team. And Phillip Rivers is the ultimate gamer. Yeah. Accurate, plays hard.
I think everybody loves playing with Phillip Rivers. Yeah, Phillip. That drive and stuff like that.
He was a cool dude, but that's my honorable mention, Phillip Rivers. Who's yours?
I got Tom Brady. I as much as I don't like Tom Brady,
he made your list.
I love him at the same time. It's such a bittersweet relationship with Tom Brady. I couldn't stand Tom Brady. Being a Chargers fan, the one year that we really, really had a chance, we were in the AFC Championship.
I remember that.
Phillip Rivers playing on a torn ACL. I'm sorry. He playing on a torn ACL, playing against the Patriots. We had the game wrapped up. It was a defensive mistake. Go back, watch the game if you don't know what I'm talking about. We were almost there. But hating Tom Brady, I'm going to put him in my honorable mentions just because so much throughout these last couple of years, he showed us a lot off the field. The swagger he has, playing 50 Cent, like Mini Man. Like, I just love that whole swagger about him, what he's been doing on Instagram. He's a funny guy. I can't hate the man but so much these last few years. As much as I hate him on the field, off the field, he's really made me like him a lot. So that's my honorable mention. So let's get into our fifth. Who's your fifth favorite quarterback?
At number 5, I got Mr. Accuracy himself, Drew Brees. Most famously known for being on the New Orleans Saints. What more can I say about Drew Brees? He's going to break he holds how many records in the NFL? Too many to name. Accurate as hell. Has a Super Bowl win. Brought New Orleans that Super Bowl. Drew Brees definitely number 5 on my list is my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Who is yours?
I'm gonna go with the second year player out of Oklahoma. Give me Baker Mayfield. Give me Baker up. About to show out his second year. He got Odell. He got Juice. He got the weapons now. He really about to show out. But last year, he brings that swagger. I love it. He's somebody I would love to be on the same field with. Just always dancing. He seems like he's always having a good time. And he brings that drive. He doesn't want to lose. And he just wants to go out there and win. So, I love that as a quarterback. You can't have Jay Cutler out there. You can't not care about the game. This
is a big year for Baker Mayfield. This roster is crazy.
He got to show out.
It's crazy.
He got to show out. So, go ahead.
Let's move on to number 4. Now, number 4, if you guys did not know, I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. So, at number 4, I have the old geezer himself, Brett Favre. Now, look, man, he was our quarterback forever in Green Bay. We've had our ups with him. We've definitely had some downs. But we've definitely had a lot of ups. What more can I say about Brett Favre? A gunslinger. He'll try anything. That's what Baker Mayfield kind of reminds me of him. Him and Patrick Mahomes, the way they just, they go for it downfield. That's what Brett Favre was. He could scramble back in the day a little bit. Was known for hitting you with that slow spin that people seem to fall for.
Can't stop him.
Bouncing off, scoring, man. Brett Favre was the ultimate gamer on the field, man. I loved Brett Favre growing up. His last couple years in Green Bay, he used to get on my nerves a lot because he was known for throwing key interceptions in the playoffs, but I got mad respect for him. Brett Favre at number 4.
Touching up on Brett Favre, man, I remember back in the day, he just brought a memory to me. Back in the yard, when we used to grow up.
We used
to run these little routes. Michael used to pretend he was Brett Favre.
Hey, man.
And I would be like Donald Driver or Greg Jennings. I'd be coming across. This man would throw the ball 100 miles per hour.
As hard as I can.
Talking about some Brett Favre about to break my finger
off,
man. Those are good times.
Used to throw the ball as hard as I could, yo. But I'm going Favre, yo. You better, look, I'm coming.
Crazy times, man. But getting into my fourth favorite quarterback, I'm going to go with somebody you've already named, Drew Brees. Like you said, Mr. Accurate. Played for the Chargers for a little bit. Obviously, when he came out the injury, we let him go. Went to the Saints and brought him a Super Bowl. And he's one of those guys, you see those pregame huddles. You'll see why he's one of our favorite quarterbacks and just the swagger he has out there as well.
At number 3, I'm going to say a name that you said that I can't believe you said. But I'm going to say it because I made a mistake here on my list. I'm going to put Tom Brady in there at number 3.
No.
Why am I putting him in there at number 3? There's only one reason why I'm putting Tom Brady in there at number 3. One reason. Rings. Rings and bling.
Can't argue with winning, right?
I can't, look, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. That's the ultimate debate I have with people. And it's getting to a point where it's not even a debate anymore.
He just keep winning.
Because he just keeps collecting rings, poised in the pocket. I'm putting Tom Brady at number 3.
All right, my third, I'm going to go with my boy, Phillip Rivers. Wait. Sorry, mistake.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Give me Aaron Rodgers third. He's my third favorite quarterback. The best that I've seen play, like you just said, the ultimate debate is him between Brady. I believe when it comes to talent, it's Aaron Rodgers. When it comes to,
that blank.
Those results,
that blank.
Winning those games, it is Tom Brady, but judging by what Tom Brady said in the past, he said if Aaron Rodgers is in the same system as him, he'd have 70 touchdowns in a season. So there is a little bit of transparency there with Tom Brady as far as who is the best quarterback and things like that. I believe Aaron Rodgers is better. That's right. I'm going to go out on a limb there. And, it's getting hard to debate with Tom Brady, but he is my third favorite quarterback.
Moving on to number 2. I got that man Michael Vick representing the 757. Look, Michael Vick, I know you remember Madden 2004. If you play Madden 2004 with Vick on the cover, unstoppable. You could do anything. Crazy. Fast as hell. Every move. Then he'll hit you with a lefty all the way down the field randomly.
All the power.
Michael Vick was crazy. He was the most exciting player. personally to me, most exciting player I've ever watched play. So he's number 2 on my list easily. Michael Vick.
My second is going to have to be my boy Phillip Rivers, representing them Chargers. I hope he gets a ring this next coming year. He's got the best team he's had in a long time. Like you said before, just a guy you love to play for. He brings that fire. Got 1 million kids, so he's still very young in the game somehow. I hope he keeps it up. I hope he still has that drive for the game. He's going to have to keep playing so he can pay for those college tuitions. So.
Yeah, he got 1 million kids, so I like that.
So I hope he just keeps staying around, give me another 2 or 3 years, and go out with a ring.
And let's finish it up with our number 1 quarterbacks. So I'm going to start my number 1 quarterback favorite of all time. I'm going to quote Mr. Stephen A. He's a bad man. Aaron Rodgers, easy. Like, there's nothing more to say. Put the ball in his hands. You have an opportunity to win the game. Hail Mary, short throws, medium throws, long throw. Accurate, can move in and out of the pocket. Has a whole swagger. I love the back in the day the championship belt celebration.
Yeah.
And get my man some defense, and we'll show y'all something. But yo, Aaron Rodgers is my favorite quarterback of all time, easily, hands down. I think he's the most talented quarterback ever. Brady got the hardware, but man, it's just something different about Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron still got some time, but he has this year. He may be able to do something.
Yeah.
So my favorite quarterback all time, I'm gonna go with the 757 product.
Hey,
give me Mike Vick.
Mike Vick. Hey,
the most exciting player I've ever seen. Seeing somebody that similar to the Iverson. We had talked about Iverson last week. I had Iverson as my favorite point guard. Straight out 757. Somebody I idolized my game off of. Mike Vick. Somebody I grew up thinking I could be. I thought I could, go back there, scramble all the way back to the, other end zone,
right?
Then come back and throw a touchdown.
Throw a touchdown, run it in.
So just somebody I always love watching. I believe everybody loved watching Michael Vick at one point, doing the crazy things they did on the field.
Well, that is our top 5 favorite QBs list, and that is another episode of Here's the Deal. I want to thank everybody for listening, wherever you may be listening.
Thank you for listening to Here's the Deal podcast. Tune in for next week's episode. And don't forget to add the Here's the Deal podcast Facebook and Twitter pages.
Thank you so much for listening. We just appreciate y'all. Continue to show love, and catch y'all on another episode.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Here's the Deal. We'll see you guys next time.